Yo, what is crackin', J-Coders? I am J-Coding, and welcome to another video. It's been a while, and it's great to be back. Let me know if you're cringing from that intro. Alright, let's get right into this. This video will be about the various methods you can use when comparing two strings. So, let's get started with the equals method. I set three string objects, string S1, string S2, and string S6, and I made an if and else statement. So you guys are probably wondering, why aren't I using the equal to comparison operator? The reason I'm not using that is because that only works with integers and doubles. You can't do that when you're comparing two strings because a string is a class, whereas an integer and a double, those are primitive data types. Let's look at this. I said if S1, so S1 is hello 4 times, dot equals, so I'm calling the equals method, S2. S2 is world. Now what this is basically saying is the value in S1 the same as the value in S2? Obviously, the word hello 4 times does not equal the word world. So I said if they equal to each other, print S1 equals S2. But obviously that won't print out, so we give it an alternative argument. I said else, print out S1 does not equal S2. So when we run this code, we should expect hello, 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 hello doesn't equal world. And that is perfect. Let's go to our next method, the index of method. So right now, we are using a print statement, and we are saying S1 dot index of hello. So we are referring to the S1 string object, which is when the word hello is printed out 4 times. Now what this does is, when you do index of, it has an argument in the parentheses. Now what this argument does is, it looks for the very first time in S1 where the word hello occurs. And when it finds the very first time that hello occurs, it'll print out the index, so the place value of when the word hello occurs. So for those of you who don't know, behind every string there's a place value. So the first letter is 0, the second letter is 1, so on and so forth. If you look at S1 and we print out this statement right here, we are expecting an output that says 0. And it says 0. Perfect. The next method we are using is the value of method. Now what we are doing is we are making a new string object called string3, and with that string we are going to take an integer value 10 and we are going to turn it into a string, which is why we did the value of method. So what happens is, in our argument we put an integer. But since we use the string.valueOf method, it'll take that integer and it'll turn it into a string. And on the very next line right here, I printed out S3, which is the object we created, and we're adding 1. Now if I print this out, I shouldn't get 11, rather I should get 101, because now it interprets the number 10 as a string. It is no longer an integer, which means when you concatenate another number with it, it won't add it together, rather it'll concatenate the two and put them right next to each other. So now we have S3 plus the number 1. So we're expecting an output that says 101. Let's run it. 101. That's exactly what we wanted. Okay, now we are going to be using the parseint method. First, we made a string object called S4 and put the numbers 1, 2, 3 in the form of a string. Now it is very crucial that we only put an integer in these double quotes. If we put a decimal or if we put any words, the parseInteger method will not work. So we made an integer and we called the integer class, not the primitive data type. Notice how the word integer over here is uppercase, indicating that it is a class. We said integer.parseInt S4. And S4 is our overloaded argument. Now what the parseInt does is it takes the string value 1, 2, 3 over here and it turns it into an integer. So it's pretty much the opposite of the value of method. And after we made int n1, we can't just go straight into the print method and say n1 plus 1. Rather, we have to create another integer, call it a, and give it the task of adding n1 and 1. That's just the way Java works. I'm not sure why it does that, but that's just what it does. And once we make integer a, then all we have to do is print out integer a, and we should get 124. Because remember, 123 gets converted into an integer, and when you concatenate an integer with another number, they will combine. So I'm expecting the output 124. Let's see. Great, 124. Alright, now with the parse double method. The parse double method is pretty self-explanatory. It performs the same task except with a double. So we made a string s5, 123.321. Again, it will not work with an integer, it'll only work with a double. I made a double n2 and gave it the task of double.parseDouble, so it'll turn this string into a double, and all we have to do is print out n2, and it should print out 123.321 in the form of a double, not a string. It is crucial to keep that in mind. When Java prints it out, it doesn't print it out as a string, it prints it out as a double. So let's run this. 123.321. And now to our final method, the compareto method. So I made an integer v1. Now the reason I made an integer v1 is because when I use the compareto method, it prints out a positive, a negative, or 0. Because when I use the compareto method, it prints out a positive number, a negative number, or the number 0. So let me explain how this works. Right now I'm comparing S6 to S2. So if we go back up here, S6 is hello and S2 is world. Obviously, the words hello and world aren't the same, so there should be a discrepancy when they print out. So let's print this out, and we get negative 15. Now let's add a few letters to this. Now we're comparing S6, hello, and S2, world, whatever that says. Let's see what prints out. Negative 15 once more. Now what if we flip the table and say S2.compareto S6? It should print out a positive number. And it does, it prints out 15. The reason it prints out an integer is because when you're comparing two strings, they all have values behind it. So what this does, it prints out the differences of the values. So it compares the first letters, then the second letters, then the third letters, and the fourth letters, so on and so forth. Now let's change the words. Let's put this as J, and put this as coding, and let's do S2.compareto S6. It is a positive number, 7. Now you guys are probably wondering, why is it printing out 7 rather than 15? That's just how the compareto method works. It'll pick any number it wants, and once it compares these first two letters right here, the J and the C, it prints out a certain value. Now let's switch up the values again. Print out V1, negative 7. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for patiently waiting for another video to come out. I appreciate all of your support. Peace.